liberated, freed, released, free from traditional social restraints, sisters, girls or women who share a common ancestry, allegiance, character, or purpose with another or others, fellow Black women or girls.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings. I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad. Welcome to Liberated Sisters for today, Thursday, February 5th. And we have a great show lined up for you tonight. We are going to present some of the final call staff writers who have been doing an excellent job in keeping us informed in what's happening with the headlines before we even see the news coming to pass. What I would like to do before I announce our guest and panel is just remind and also share with you all the purpose and the mission of Liberated Sisters. I was approached when I was I think I was a staff writer at the time for the Final Call newspaper to do a show on the Pacifica Network, which is KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles. The Pacifica Network is huge. It has 5 sister stations. And our dear brother, Askia Muhammad, our former senior editor of the Final Call newspaper and one of our very first editors of the Final Call, author, Brother Askia, may Allah be pleased with him, has made his transition. But he also has and had a show that he did on WPFW in Washington, D.C. And I would always get the sister stations confused because I really wasn't paying attention to radio. I was like, okay, I don't really have anything to say. I write. I have this student post with the Final Call, and that's where my focus is. And so I wanted to be a TV news anchor. I really wasn't tracking on radio broadcasts. And there was a sister named Latrice. She was here from New York, and we had gotten to know each other based on our work on the front lines, if you will. There was a lot happening on the ground in the community. There still is, heightened. But I'm just saying, how did I get into broadcast? And she was here from New York, and I was just amazed because she was going every place that we were going to at that time frame, covering things that were happening in our community, from the community's response or even them trying to get in front of things that were happening, whether it was police violence, whether it was some atrocity, or they were trying to plan something ahead of what they saw was coming. We were there. And I knew I was in my car and I was having a struggle getting there, like, oh, I got to stop for gas. Oh, they're going to be at this location at this time. I got to get there. Right. So by Allah's grace and mercy, I was making it there. But sister was there too. And I would see her walking up from the distance and I would say, well, how did you get here? And she was getting there on the bus, or she was taking a train, or somebody was dropping her off. And I just felt like, wow, it was hard for me with a vehicle in Los Angeles. And she's doing this on public transportation. I didn't know at the time that she was hailing from the East Coast, and that was the norm. That was really the best way for her. And when you're in that kind of populous place where the transit system is friendly, but I still was just thinking, like, you're in Los Angeles, these distances are far. So nonetheless, I started telling her, well, when we're going to be going, let me know, or you can come with me. Well, lo and behold, time passed and she contacted me and said, we're going to be creating a Black women's radio program. And I think that you need to be a part of this, sister, with all that you do. And I just immediately said, no, that's radio, I'm print. And what are people going to listen to me say? I don't have anything to say. No one wants to hear me. Well, she was able to make me see. And I actually went and talked to some of my advisors and asked, what do you all think? How could we use this? How could we use this? How could we benefit from this? And what I realized was, whoa, you have this paper of truth and you could use this to promote that. And that's what started uh, Liberated Sisters. I was approached with having to have a name right away. Now, the reason I say that is this. Let me step back. It was a collective of women, a lot of women, and the show was called Some of Us Are Brave. There's a lot that's skipping over here, but the show was called Some of Us Are Brave. And salute to all of the sisters who worked very hard, and brothers. It was a community event. It was a community affair. Well, when the smoke cleared many years down the line, I was standing and I was asked to save the spot. And I thought, who am I to save anything? We need to talk to the sisters. And at the end of the day, there was no one. And we were threatened with Black women's voices in this time slot is going to be gone. And we worked too hard. So I had to come up with the name right away, Liberated Sisters. Okay. And then I had to come up with a mission. And the mission was, or the description was, Liberated Sisters is a forum for solutions to critical problems impacting Black women in our communities. We highlight our connection to the global struggle for social, educational, and economic justice. We uplift positive images of Black women in media. So it wasn't women centered. It wasn't, I was very intentional. I was very emphatic about being able to be a Black woman with a voice in broadcast, and not from the feminist, hardline feminist perspective, meaning not Black women who were womanist or were feminists, but I'm talking about that white matriarchal and patriarchal kind of battle. I was adamant that I don't have the same issues with my Black man and with our Black men that women do. We have issues, most deaf, but we've always worked together. Our communities have always survived together. We were in the holds of ships together. But prior to that, we were rulers together. And in many continents and countries in our motherland, women really were at the forefront, but not a forefront like down with the Black man. It was all in its proper place. And so I wanted to make sure to come from that mindset. And so I would love to be, and we'll start highlighting more of our beautiful sisters across the spectrum within and without of the quote unquote Nation of Islam. The show is, I would say, returning to its roots, but also in an expanded way. I just remember when I was most happy, most comfortable, felt most accomplished, and that is pointing to the light, which is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is taking us to the light, which is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is giving us guidance and instructions and letting us know that our Savior has arrived, the Master Father Muhammad. And so everyone's going to come by these teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The one God that we serve, and whichever way that we call on him, again, let us be found doing that. Because as I'm about to point out in an article, which our dear brother Brian Muhammad wrote, which is from the Divine Guidance and Instruction from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what you see happening over there, and I might as well put it up, what you see over there is being planned over here. So all of these things that are taking place right now, ICE in the community, rape, police violence still on the rise, all of these different things that are taking place, affordable, unaffordable housing, homelessness skyrocketing, every single thing is happening. We've been forewarned of. So that means we also have been given the guidance and the solutions for it. And whether we decide to take it or not, we love the matrix, right? We love to quote the matrix, the blue pill, the red pill. Whatever we decide to do, we will not and we cannot. And how dare we say that we have not been forewarned? We've had a divine, and we still do have a divine guide and a warner among us. So I'm not a student minister, and I'm not going to go any further into that or farther in terms of sounding like I'm preaching or what have you. I just wanted to remind myself and inform those who may be new to Liberated Sisters what the show is about, what the presentation is about, and what we want to do also is highlight entrepreneurs. So would you email me at liberatedsisters@gmail.com? For those of you who are getting ready to go, God willing, into Savior's Day, as well as you have your businesses right now, email me, liberatedsisters@gmail.com, so that we can look at what you have, vet that, and have you on our upcoming podcast, God willing, which is going to highlight our entrepreneurs, because we must do for self or suffer the consequences. And a lot of you are serving us, and some of us know about you and some of us don't. So with that said, we have our guest, Dr. Ridgely Mumin Muhammad is with us. We have Brother Brian E. Muhammad with us, and we certainly have Sister Attorney Pamela Muhammad, thank God, with us. And later in the show, we will have our sister staff writer, Anisah Muhammad, with us. But I want to just go into some of the highlight of the final call headlines. Then Sister Pamela will come in with the roundup of the Justice Report. And then we're going to bring in Brother Brian and Dr. Ridgely. And actually, Brother Brian, it will be Dr. Ridgely before that, okay? But let me just get into the final call a little bit. So there it is. What you see over there is being planned over here. So Brother Brian and I will go into that a little bit. So I just mentioned it, and I can take that out because we're going to talk some more about that. So here, let's pull in the final call for this week. Trying to find the presentation screen. And here it is. All right. Where is it? I have a lot of screens up as we talked about, but that's not the one. Troubles in foreign lands. Thank you all. Okay. Sisters on the rise. None of these. None of these. Here we go. All right. And all praise is due to Allah. Brother Brian was telling me earlier, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying it, he had lost his production. He couldn't find it. I couldn't find you all right now just for a minute, Brother Brian, but I got it. Ah! All right. There it is. Share it. Okay. All right. Is the U.S. preparing to attack Iran? That is our cover story for the Final Call newspaper this week. You may subscribe at finalcall.com or finalcalldigital.com, where you may also subscribe to Final Call Radio, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his statements, his messages, his music, 24/7, finalcallradio.com. So, in this issue of the Final Call newspaper, again, Brother Brian will come to us and speak about Iran's refusal to be intimidated by the United States threats and aggression. Also, later in the show, Sister Anisah Muhammad will join us to talk about the anger at federal government's immigration operations and how they're increasing after another killing in Minneapolis. Moving on into the Final Call newspaper, Sister Anisah writes about the winter storm death toll and damages on the rise as a second storm brings even more snow. Last week, we just had a story about the bomb cyclone, and it is continuing, and there's still a lot of snow on the ground in places in California. It's sunny, it's hot. It's hot. And so, when I look at the news here, it reminds me that, the country is under a lot. Nurses strike spread to California and Hawaii. New York nurses were already striking, talking about that there were unsafe working levels. And of course, for contracts in terms of equal pay, better pay, fair pay. And now the nurses in California and Hawaii joined that. It's a separate strike, but the profession itself. And they're saying the same thing, that the levels are just unsafe for patients and that they're being required to work very long hours for not fair pay. Now, last week, it started being said that the teachers in Los Angeles had approved the strike. I haven't seen yet that they are on strike, but that is coming. People are just really unsatisfied and they want justice. Teens emergency training saves shooting victim. Everyone, you can follow the Final Call on Instagram and other social media, X, as well as Facebook. I love this story is regarding a program that's Brother Dr. Abdullah Pratt in Chicago. It's free too. Has where he's training young brothers and sisters in healthcare. And our sister here, Sister Naira, and one of her staff, Sister Carmela, at the How to Eat to Live restaurant, they went into action and they saved the young man's life who came into the restaurant bleeding. And the young sister knew just what to do. Her name is Sister Awa. So praise be to Allah for that. And Sister Nisa Islam Muhammad has an analysis showing the rising cost and declining jobs after the Trump's policies. And so it's really costing a lot of people, so that we see the workforce has a push out. And she also has a 2025 economic snapshot there, talking about a year of regression. We're going on into our special section, the United States policy of depopulation. You may go to noi.org/vaccine. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's article here: as long as we do not own land, we are not going to be a productive people. We will be getting more into that article, inshallah, especially when we talk to Dr. Ridgely. I pray Dr. Ridgely, manager of Muhammad's Farm in Georgia. And we also have the staple goods projects coming up. So, God willing, with the announcements, I want to put that flyer up on how you can order staple goods, and it is for everyone within the sounds of our voices. Here we have something from the Defender, Brenda Belletti, PhD. Texas Attorney General targets grocery stores over spraying undisclosed pesticide on organic produce. Now, Sister Dr. Christina X was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and she spoke about, and she also spoke to me in an interview for the Final Call about the organic food, how some of it is being what's on it that's making it rot so fast, and that the importance is clean food, and how a lot of these pesticides are being used and overly used because the food having to be preserved in such a way. And so that's that story. We also have an advertisement. I invite you to get this book, The Final Call: Revealing the Truth and Exposing the Synagogue of Satan. Within this book, it discusses the time and what must be done lecture series, the Synagogue of Satan. It discusses who are the real children of Israel. These are all coming from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And thank God for the Nation of Islam Research Group who helped to pull this together. This is a masterful work very, very educational, and it answers a lot of the questions we have today about what is going on and why are we in the condition we are in right now. There's an interview with Minister Farrakhan on Brother Reverend Michael Eric Dyson's show. This book also includes a special report on the Honorable Minister Farrakhan's trip to Iran and Savior's Day 2023. The war of Armageddon has begun. I'm going to wrap it right there. There's something, a lot in the remaining pages, but go to finalcall.com, finalcalldigital.com. I think I need to wrap it there and bring in our guests. And so, Sister Attorney Pamela, let's bring you in so that you can continue with the Justice Report. And then, Dr. Ritzy, we will bring you in right after that. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Charlene. How are you today?
I'm doing very good. Thank you. And how are you?
I'm doing fine. Yes, ma'am. Listening to you give the background of the show is so inspirational because, like you say, yeah, women at the table, adding to the news or the knowledge and just having opinions is important too, because we do have amongst us some of the best brothers, some of the best men in the nation, the Black man. And we're so honored and privileged to have such wise brothers amongst us. So to see the sisters coming to the table as well, like we saw on Sunday, this is important. And so that's another conversation. I'm going to go right into the Justice Report. So I wanted to start from this February 9th Final Call newspaper and look at the article by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I just wanted to pull out a paragraph. Now, the article is entitled Serpent. And one of the things the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says in this fascinating article is that that old serpent, devil, and Satan, the old beast, is the dragon which deceiveth the whole world of the poor, ignorant, darker nations, and has caused them to fall off their mount of prosperity, success, and independence by accepting advice, guidance, and empty promises, which he, in parentheses, the serpent-like Caucasian devil, in parentheses, never intended to fulfill. And I thought that was important because, as you're saying, the guidance that we get from the Final Call newspaper and from the teachings, the coming of Master Fard Muhammad, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Louis Farrakhan being that divine teacher, guide, Messiah in our midst is so important. And so as I look at the Justice Report, it really stands out about how we need protection. And the Final Call, as you talked about the article entitled Texas AG Targets Grocery Stores Over Spraying Undisclosed Pesticide on Organic Produce. Again, this is the deception. This is what the people, we've been dying and we've had diabetes, like Dr. Christina Parks was talking about a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't know why. And so this article digs deep and talks about how the AG down here, Ken Paxton, he's actually going after some of the grocery stores because they're selling food that's supposed to be organic, but really it has undisclosed microbes, I think is what it's called. And it's really interesting to me because it just brings out how there's a problem with the listings of the ingredients, and they are like 99.5% of what's in this spray, this mist, is not being disclosed. It's not listed on the product. So you may think that it's one thing, but it's not. And so he's saying, look, we need this listed. We need the ingredients listed. We need instructions listed. And so I thought that was interesting, trying to get some state attorney general trying to get the federal guidelines imposed in the state, especially for those of us who so-called like organic food. And I think it's very interesting because this article also points out how the state of Texas, they have a lot of lawsuits that they're filed. And I think one of them, like the office is investigating the makers of fluoride toothpaste, Tylenol, and COVID-19 vaccines. So I thought that was a very interesting point to make. The second issue that I wanted to talk about is the protection of Black women and how we are taught, and so blessed that we have the minister teaching our brothers and teaching the world and teaching ourselves about how women, we must be protected, and the brothers being the maintainers and the protectors, and just this heightened knowledge coming from places like the Final Call newspaper. So we talk, unfortunately, this article is about the killing of Sonia Massey and how the former Illinois deputy is sentenced to 20 years in prison for killing Sonia Massey. And I think many of us remember our sister Sonia Massey because she was killed in Illinois. And this case actually goes back to, let's see, he was actually convicted on October the 31st. But according to this article, our sister was murdered by a police officer that she called on a 911 call because she was having some concerns. She thought there was predators in her yard. She called 911. And it is known that she was struggling with some mental health issues. But instead, he killed her. He comes in, and instead of protecting this sister, this man's name is Sean Grayon. He comes in and he shoots the sister. According to the article, although he was Grayson. Yeah. So according to the article, he received a sentence of 20 years, which was the maximum for this second degree, I believe, murder charge. But it should be noted, according to this article, Grayson was charged with 3 counts of first degree murder, which could have led to a life sentence. But a jury convicted him of the lesser charge. Illinois allows for a second degree murder conviction if evidence shows the defendant honestly thought he was in danger, even if that fear was unreasonable. So what they're saying is that even if Grayson had no reason to be afraid that this woman was going to harm him, but because he said it and he honestly thought it, then that entitled the jury to convict him of a second degree murder charge, and he got 20 years. As noted in the article, the Massey family was outraged. They, by the jury decision, and they raised some questions of racial justice. So again, I just wanted to report on that article. And my final article, because again, I think this whole theme of protections and because we've been deceived, and we know that, it's an uphill fight against this enemy, this satanic serpent. So now we look at the editorial for the February 9th edition of the Final Call, and it's entitled Press Freedoms Under Assault. And this article is about so let me just start by saying constitutional right. We have the First Amendment protection of freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. And so this is a right that is guaranteed to us under the United States Constitution. And so, according to this article, it's quoted how the ACLU says that at its core, this freedom means that the government can't control what the media publishes. Now, this article is really, it describes the recent arrest of journalist Don Lemon and Georgia Fort, who is a Minnesota-based independent journalist, who were arrested and they're arrested for reporting on and filming at an anti-ICE protest, which was held on January 18th at a church. And according to this article, the question is asked, what is their alleged crime? According to the federal government, there's the statement whether or not, doing their job. And so Mr. Lemon, who is a member of the press, and Ms. Fort maintained that they were at the church as participants not as participants in the protest, but as members of the media. And so then, it goes on to talk about what Mr. Lemon is charged with. So according to media reports, he is being hit with federal civil rights charges after a grand jury in Minnesota indicted him on charges of conspiracy and interfering with the First Amendment rights of worshipers during the January 18 protests in the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota, where a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement official is a pastor. This Associated Press reported that Ms. Fort is facing the same charges. And I just want to read a statement contained in this article from the National Association of Black Journalists, who issued a statement saying that they are outraged and deeply alarmed by the arrest of journalists Don Lemon and Georgia Fort by federal agents and by the government's escalating effort and actions to criminalize and threaten press freedom under the guise of law enforcement. So, this article actually ends with some guidance and quotes from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he actually delivered a message in August of 1996, August 21 of 1996, to the National Association of Black Journalists. And I just love when the minister talks to all these professional organizations, because he, his wisdom on so many subjects, all subjects, is just limitless. But yeah, so this article quotes some of the things that he said, and I just wanted to end this by saying the minister's words: without a free press, there is no real democracy. Free press, what does that really mean? That you're free, yes, to state your ideas, thoughts, and opinions in a democratic society. But a free press is not a controlled press. A free press is that free to determine what the truth is and to write and speak that truth to the betterment of that society. Minister Farrakhan said in his message to the NABJ in 1996. The minister went on to say, the founding fathers of this great nation knew that in order to protect this nation and to keep it forever in the light of God, perpetually moving toward perfection, freedom of speech and freedom of the press and freedom of religion and freedom of assembly must be protected. Without free speech, we are hindered from saying the things that might correct a democracy, the things that has gone off course. Again, let me say that, repeat that. Without free speech, we are hindered from saying the things that might correct a democracy that has gone off course. Without a free press, we cannot say the things that would keep the nation, in quotes, America, from falling into the abyss after the nation reaches its zenith and becomes wealthy and powerful and influential, yet corrupt. And so the article ends by saying there's an attack on freedom and truth today. However, we must be undeterred, unbossed, unbowed, and unafraid, as Minister Farrakhan teaches us, to write and speak the truth, regardless of whom or what. So, yes, ma'am, that ends the Justice Report. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sister Attorney Pamela.
Yes,
everyone, finalcall.com. That was a beautiful report, very informative.
All praises are due to Allah. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And
the final call just has the best, the guidance, the truth, the information. So
That's right,
Yes,
bar
we
none. It's right there. Everyone, finalcall.com. I'm sorry I wasn't able to enlarge that. This is how the platform shows, but there is a solution to it. And inshallah, we'll see if we can have that next week. It could be to have the images there, but that's more production. But you can read that at finalcall.com. Thank you so much. Let us bring in now so that we can get into our next segment, Dr. Ridgely Abdul Mumin Muhammad. Dr. Ridgely, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam to you
How are
all,
you?
and happy Savior's Day.
Happy Savior's
Happy
Day,
Savior's
Dr.
Day to
Ridgely.
you. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
How are you? And how is our dear sister, Dr. Ann?
Well, the good doctor is taking care of herself and me very well. And I thank
Praise.
Allah for her because I don't know many people who could have gone through what we have gone through for 31 years in this war.
Mm,
I have to explain it to y'all as a war because it is. And I got a PhD and a master's degree, but I did not know that there was a war going on to
mm.
reduce the population through reducing the farmers and then controlling the food and putting out poisons instead of that which was best for the people to depopulate America and the world. I did not know this until I came down to the farm and began to help the black farmers as they were talking about how they've been persecuted by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Now,
Dr. Ridgely,
yes,
pardon me. Back up a little bit,
yes.
or could you pull your screen down a little bit if it doesn't tamper with anything because your forehead is cut off.
Oh, there I is. Okay.
I know I should have done. There you go. Continue.
Yeah,
The black
I was
farmers.
looking. I was looking at the final call,
Yes,
and not
sir.
in my and not in my head. Okay.
You're good. Thank you.
Okay. Praise be to Allah. Now, right down to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in the page 9 of this week's final call. The title is "As long as we do not own land, we are not going to be a productive people." Now, this is a lecture based on part number 36 of the 58-part lecture series that was in 2013. Okay, so let me go down here and read a portion of this, and then I'll try to explain some things about this. Because we know about the loss of the black farmers and the black farmland. But here, Mr. Farrakhan is talking about the loss of the farmers by the whole United States. He said, according to the most recent United States Census of Agriculture, farming as an occupation has decreased from 64% of the labor force in 1850 to less than 1% in 2013. Here we are in 2013. There are over 313 million people living in the United States, and of that population, less than 1% claim farming as an occupation. And from over 6,500,000 farms owned by farmers in America at one time, America now is down to 2.2 million farms. So what we are looking at is the destruction of the engine of national life. In other words, we've lost 66% of the farms. Now, this is the game. And me working with the black farmers and doing research on why they were going out of business and how the white farmers were staying in business. But now the white farmers are also going out of business because of the same thing that took the black farmers out of business. Okay, as a farm or any type of business, you have a price that you have on your product, and then you have the cost of production. For you to stay in business, your price times the quantity of your product is got to be more than the cost of production. But here, for the U.S. Department of Agriculture's own information, I'm looking at what happened between 1969 and 1997. between 1969 and 1997, fertilizer cost per acre, used per acre, went up 3 times. Petroleum went up two times. Fertilizer went up 3 times. And labor went up 4 times. Now, but I wish you could see the screen. Corn has flatlined. Corn, soybeans, peanuts, cotton, the major crops have flatlined. The price is not going up. Nowhere near keeping up with the cost of production. So how do they stay in business? Well, the government gives the money down to each county in America to subsidize the farmers. It's gone down to each county, and the big white farmers are given control of that money and as to who it goes to. Now you're talking about a chicken, a fox in a hen house. So the government takes your tax money, gives it to the big white farmers, and the big white farmers dole it out to the other farmers. Of course, the black farmers didn't get hardly nothing. That's why they took USDA to court. But even within the white farm community, they gave it to those who they want to give it to, so that they could run them out of business and buy their farmland. So costs keep going up, prices are flatline. The only way you can make some more money is just to produce more crop. However, to produce more crop, you got to increase the inputs. Fertilizers, herbicides, etc., labor, increase the inputs. But when you do that and you produce more product, guess what? The demand for the product hasn't gone up, so the prices stay low because you're trying to produce to catch up, and you can't catch up because the more you produce, the bigger hole you dig for yourself. I know it's see,
Wow.
Satan is a scientist. Okay? Money is his God and economics is his religion. He sits behind computer screens and does the mathematics on how to put you in a position to lose, and make you think you lost because you made a mistake instead of them playing you. They did it to the black farmers. Now they're doing it to the white farmers. And when Trump put that in the tariff, and China said, well, we're not going to buy from America no more. We can buy from Brazil, Argentina, and did a 20-year contract with Argentina for soybeans. The soybean farmers are blowing their brains out. Okay? So they first did it to the black farmers, and the white farmers were given the money to buy us out. And the white farmers thought that they were getting away. But they were just being set up to be taken over by the even bigger farmers, the bigger corporations. So now you're going to have people like Bill Gates and others controlling the land and the distribution system for the food and the processing. So everything will be owned by a few corporations, and the farmers who remain on the land would have to be sharecroppers with the super rich. Okay? So that in a nutshell is what's going on right now. But the minister is always on point and keeps us ahead of the game. But you got to be able to read and then do your research to understand why is it this way. And when you understand that this is all planned, then you understand why we must separate to do something for ourselves, because even living close to white people at this time is no protection, because what? They are niggers now too, to the super rich. They don't care. They don't need them. They're going to replace them with robots, and they're going to eliminate them or make them their psychological slaves. But stick with the Final Call newspaper so you can have a glimpse into the headlines before they happen, And when the headlines happen, then you begin to understand what is going on and take solace in that we have a leader who gets his direction to give to us straight from the God of the universe. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for that, Dr. Ridgely. We do have comments and maybe some questions. I'm not sure about questions in the chat. We'll pull those in, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and please spread the word about our broadcast tonight. Sister Anisah Muhammad, Final Call staff writer, inshallah, will also be joining us. And Brother Brian, we're going to jump into your coverage on what's happening with Iran and the United States in a minute. I just want to open the floor for you and Sister Pamela, you first, Brother Brian, to ask any question or comment about what Dr. Ridgely just said. And for me, my thing is, how does all of this link into what we see with the War of Armageddon, which has already begun? But Brother Brian, you first.
Yeah. Well, earlier today I was on X, so to speak, and the black farmer that they normally premiere, who's on these shows all the time. Oh man, his name.
John Boyd.
Yes, John Boyd. Thank you. And he was talking about his experience with this farm conference that President Trump did at the White House, and apparently he was not invited. And he heard that there was no black farmers in the room, nor were there small farmers in the room. So can you touch on that, as you mentioned much earlier about this plan now, of elimination? Can you talk about this issue of this focus on these large corporate farmers and even medium to small farmers are being moved against?
It's called divide and conquer. So what the billionaires and the super rich do is say, okay, you big farmers, you one of us. Y'all come over here with us, and we're going to eliminate all them other family farmers and small farmers who are inefficient, and we're going to help you buy them out. Okay? Now, but their real scheme is by 2030, John Deere has already said that it will not produce a tractor for a human to drive.
Wow.
They all be driven by robots hooked up to the cloud. And the farmers who are farming now with their John Deeres or the international tractors have sensors on their tractors that are recording everything that tractor does over every inch of ground of that farm. When to do it, how deep to plow, when to spray, when to harvest, everything is being recorded so that when Bill Gates or some of the other big boys buys a farm, it's going to buy the computer program to run the farm. They're not going to need no farmer on the farm to run the farm. The only time they're going to need a human being is to come in and fix the equipment. So they're getting the big farmers to say, come on outside. We go help you get bigger. We're going to take the other dudes out. And once they touch them other dudes out, then they're going to take them out and replace them with robots who they're training by riding with them in their tractor, recording every move that they make on every inch of ground of that land, so they will know everything about that land. And they can, and the robots, the computers can run it. So that's the game, divide and conquer.
Wow.
So what I hear is computer software engineering, things like that are necessary.
Yes.
If I'm thinking about going to college right now.
Yeah, but they're not going to leave with a few. And with their new system, the robots go to train the robots. See, once you have trained a robot to run every inch of that land, then that robot can train other robots to do it. And then the information that they pick up as they're doing it, they refine the software. They
Mm.
refine the program to do a better job. It's all going to be built in, this AI. So they are preparing, and they are preparing to do agriculture without humans. But the problem that they made with COVID, they jumped too fast, and now people are peeping on them. It's like you're going to talk about the preservatives. It's only organic food. That's been going on forever. They've been lying to the public. But now the public is caught up with them because of COVID-19, the pestilence from heaven has awakened the people. So now the people are seeing the game that's being played on them all along. And so they're now saying, we want out of the whole system because now we know who you are and what you're up to. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has exposed Satan in his hiding place.
Wow.
It looks like, Sister Pamela, are you trying to say something? Because you're on mute. Hold on a second. Unmute yourself.
No, I'm just listening. This is great commentary. Yes, enjoying it.
Wow.
I was going to pull up a picture of Coco. I don't know you all in Los Angeles. I don't know in other areas where this might be called, or if you have one, I would stand the reason you might. But there's, and my little granddaughter, we're fascinated by it because we're like, who's getting food out of there? There's this, I'm going to picture, there's this little robot, and this Coco is pink, and she's got a flag. And there's a silver one too, but I don't know that name. And I'm talking about there are potholes and tree roots have sidewalks like this. And she just goes up and down and she's crossing the street, veering around people, but she's delivering food in the West Los Angeles area. And yesterday I passed by one and I just snapped a picture of it. Like I'm up close on it. I was examining it because someone puts the food in there. And how safe is it? We don't know, but it's at any rate, it's locked. There's a camera. You made me think about that, Dr. Risley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and I do.
Go
ahead, Dr. Risley. I was going to say it does remind me of how these machines are collecting data, so then they can actually do your job. It's like you're training these machines to do your job because they collecting, like, for example, Grammarly. You know, it's a program that corrects your spelling and all of this, but really, you know, they're picking up how we say and our expressions, so then they can do it. Chat GTP and all that, I think, is an example of that. And they have their positive roles, I believe, but also the ultimate goal is to replace us. But it just goes back to deception that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was talking about in the article, The Serpent, I think. So,
Yeah, and that serpent, if you look at that picture of the serpent, the tail of the serpent starts in Israel.
It starts and it ends in Israel. The tail.
The tail starts in Israel and comes to America and wrap around America. All around the world, then wrap around America. Because America is the prize. But it starts in Israel. That's in the final call.
Yeah. Because I said that because every time I look at that picture of that image, I've always interpreted the other way, that it's the head going out there, but it's actually the tail coming
from Israel. It started in Israel. That's the cave. That's the headquarters, and then it comes all around to what you see. This suit of all the countries, and America is the prize. And now they're going to squeeze the American people and drain them dry, and send it all back to Israel, because Israel is the head of the snake. This is why, or the tail of the snake, which is actually the head of the snake, where it started. This is why Mr. Farrakhan called Netanyahu Nebuchadnezzar. Because his intent is to rule the world.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I missed it. I was putting the picture up. So you're saying we're not starting from where that head is, where we see the head. You're starting from where the tail.
The head is America, because that's the end of it. That's the snake that wrapped around, and now the snake, he swallows America, right? But if you follow where the snake comes from, the snake comes from Israel.
Whoa, I want to follow this. Look at this.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us this in the Muhammad Speaks years ago, but we slept it.
So right here, Doc, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I know right
I'm
there,
sorry. I
right
was
there. That's where it
Okay.
starts from.
look at
Okay.
that.
Okay. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, remember last week
Oh,
Okay.
I said
Okay.
said in the
Okay.
final call that
Yeah.
America and Britain put the little brother,
Yeah. Deposited their little brother.
Israel,
Uh-huh.
in the middle of the Middle East. Okay.
wow.
This was a long-term plan.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And now
Wow.
we're in it, and the people in America and all over the world are waking up to the game.
Right.
Mhm.
And now uh, Mr. Farrakhan was told to be quiet, and we need to understand that it's time to be cool right now. Let them other folks do the fighting now amongst themselves.
Wow. Thank
But we
you.
better get out the way because America's falling, and no matter
Yeah.
which side wins or loses up there, what we going to do, where we going to be, how we
Right.
going to survive. That's
Right.
what we have to think about. Stop thinking about them and say, look, let's figure out a place on this earth that we can call our own
Right.
and develop a system by which we can survive. Because we survived after slavery. We were supposed to die in the woods after slavery, but we did not.
Mm.
That's
Now it's time for us to go back to working with one another in a survival mode instead of trying to get a rich mode, because he controls the money. So therefore, he controls who can get rich. We have to learn now how we can produce and trade and do commerce amongst self.
right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ridgely and everyone. Let's do some of the comments for you all. And
Right.
also, I have some announcements. I want to get to them. And then Sister Anisah will be joining us. And Brother Brian, we're coming to your articles so that we can remark on that. Let's start from the bottom. Brother Lewis says, yes, sir. Sister Tawan, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad vindicated. Sister Angelita Muhammad, wow, Dr. Ridgely, great observation. Regional Sky Girl says, I see them in the Asheville, North Carolina airport. They have taken the jobs of many cleaning staff. I want to, there's the Waymo cars out here. You might have seen them online, everyone, where people showed them mostly getting in jams, talking about the white cars. They're Jaguars, some of them, and they have cameras everywhere. I do want to ride one. See how it is. There is a proper way to use AI. AI Farmers is not one of them. Regional Sky Girl. Brother Lewis is so this is bearing witness to what's being said. Agriculture without humans. Sister Tawan. AI Farmers. This is from Sister Angelita. Regional Sky Girl says, what you are sharing, Brother Doc, sounds like science fiction. Wow. These people are so wicked. And Sister Tawan says tractors will run without a farmer, replaced by robots. Thank you, Sister Tawan, because she's reiterating what you've been saying. John Deere, she put a tractor there. No black farmers or small farmers in the room with Trump. Someone's giving Brother Anthony Harrington says, my big brother Brian. Yes, Brother Brian, we're so happy that you're with us. What is this? Farmers are not invited to the party. She's reiterating that. Remember, we're starting from the bottom of the comments going back. That's right, Doc. Stick with it. Brother Lewis, thank you all for tuning in and sharing with us. Teach on Yakub mathematics, the scientists of deceit. Teach, Doc. And here's some greetings toward the beginning of the show. Assalamu alaikum, family. Happy Savior's Day. Thank you for that information. And I'm sorry again, we have the vertical for the cell phone as well as the screens for tablets and laptops, and so I wasn't able to enlarge that for you to see that. But you can read along with us at finalcall.com. Sister Landra Muhammad, she's Regional Sky Girl. Much success and safe to you, sister, as you're out there flying. Happy Savior's Day. We have some more testifying. Yes, right. Brother
Well,
Lewis is
there,
showing
there are no questions, so let's go to the next people.
coffee pen. Okay, got it. Can you enlarge? Thank you. There's no questions. Thank you. Look, I went through all of that. It's only to give them some kind of respect. So,
It's
Brother
about
Brian.
Yes, sir. Yes,
What
yes,
was
ma'am.
you,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
were you gonna say, Brother Brian?
I wasn't gonna say anything. I'm just laughing at, Dr. Ridley. He has no patience for the small talk. He just look,
I
man.
know,
Let's just
but
get to
but that is,
get to
I
the
do understand. I could go through those toward the end. So let's do that. Let's go to Brother Brian's article. And Brother Brian, first, would you just give us the highlight of when you received this assignment, or maybe you pitched your assignment in terms of what's happening with the war? And let me get it while I'm talking. With the
Okay.
U.S. and Iran. Here's the cover story again. Let's flip through it. Finalcall.com. You can pull that up on your devices. Here is Brother Brian's cover story article. Is the United States preparing to attack Iran? As well as cover top the fall of America by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, page 30. So, I'm not showing it. There it
Yeah,
is.
no
Okay,
problem.
Brother
So,
Brian, you'll come out and you give us your remarks on when you received this assignment or when you pitched it and it was approved. What was on your
well,
mind? How did you approach it?
of course, we know that if we've been watching the news, we know that the Trump administration sent over a group of warships off the coast of Iran. And really, it was a bully tactic. The United States, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called it right when he describes the United States foreign policy as an errant foreign policy. And so, Iran has been having some issues on the ground. There's been protests that really started with some economic suffering because, as we know, the United States have committed economic warfare, these tight sanctions that have literally hurt the people of Iran for a number of years. And so, and they put these sanctions together in hopes that it would hurt the people enough to cause dissatisfaction among the people that they themselves would begin to step against their own government. Well, that is the organic part of the protest that was taking place in Iran recently. The people were suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and they rose up, to make that known
Wow.
of the pain that they were under. But
Wow.
now you have the United States. Now you have this state of Israel, this unholy alliance between the United States and Israel. And this ongoing agenda to undermine and destabilize the Islamic Republic of Iran. They're hoping to have regime change there,
Mm. Wow.
and they've been at it, I would say, ever since the mid 50s with the United States and the overthrow of Mohammed Mossadegh, which was a democratically elected leader of Iran that the United States, along with England, uh, overthrew in the 50s. That put in who we now know as the Shah of Iran, this monarchy who was a very wicked ruler, but a puppet of America. And in 1979, he was overthrown by the Islamic Revolution led by the Ayatollah Raul Khomeini, who brought in this system, this theocratic system to rule, and that's what has been the rule ever since 1979. And so the United States and Israel have been always behind the scenes and a lot of times out front, instigating for the United States to have some type of war with Iran. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has spent years warning the United States not to allow Israel to bait them into a situation that has the potential to draw in the nations of the earth and spark into that war of all wars that none of us really want to see, called the War of Armageddon or the Third World War. And so
Wow.
the final call, we did this article on the heels of these warships going into, again, sort of like a chest bump against Iran. But the leadership of Iran is saying, you know, you're not going to just push us around. We will fight you. And they will fight, you know. And you know, and the thing that we have to understand about the people of Iran, even if you have dissatisfaction, which is what America and Israel have tried to tap into in order to cause more dissatisfaction against the government of Iran, the people of Iran love their nation more than they love what they believe America and even possibly Israel can ever do for them. So when they attack, the people of Iran will stand with their government, even though they may have some dissatisfaction right now with their government. It's like, I'm Iranian first, and I'm not going to let you come. Exactly.
Yeah. No, pardon me. Go ahead, Brother Brian.
Yeah, no problem. No, but yeah. So that's kind of the gist of where we're at. You know, we know that the Honorable Minister Farrakhan made a trip there. This may have been his third trip that he made in 2018 in November. And I would suggest that people go to NOI.org and pull up the documents around that trip. There's several documents there of the ministers, some interviews, as well as some press releases of the minister explaining his motivation for going. And it has a lot to do with who we are as the nation of Islam and believers in the existence of what we call the Mahdi, the long-awaited Mahdi that the world has been looking for. Iran believes in the Mahdi and is awaiting the Mahdi. And so, you know, it's very relevant, very important why we must keep up with what goes on in the country of Iran.
Thank you. Ooh, I was about to press that play button, but I wanted to let everyone right here is what he is speaking about. And by the way, Brother Sultan Muhammad, member of the Nation of Islam Research Group, has a book that is coming out. It's out, and he will have them at Savior's Day, dealing with the Honorable, highlighting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's World Friendship Tours. But here is what Brother Brian is referring to. Brother Brian, I have a question, and I want to pull in Dr. Ridgely and Sister Attorney Pamela for any of their questions regarding how close is the United States are the U.S. and Iran to actual military conflict, and what are the main triggers, you know, for that? Like, how close really is this to happening?
Well, you know, right, tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow, they are supposed to have talks between Iran and the United States. The foreign minister of Iran will be meeting with the special envoy to the Middle East for the United States to try to work this out. But both countries really, they as much chest bumping and whatnot that they have been doing against each other, they've also been drawing back some of the heightened rhetoric, you know, that neither of them really want to go to war. I mean, I believe that. I mean, I believe that they, you know, they really don't. But the United States have taken a posture of this gangster-like posture that it has been using around the world over the last year in particular. So you look at how they went into Venezuela, you know, went in there, bombed Venezuela, illegally abducted the president or head of state, which was an illegal act, by the way, because even if he was guilty of everything that America is saying, or the United States is saying, it's against international law to arrest a head of state or charge a head of state, a sitting head of state, while he's in power. Trump should know that, because that was his whole argument in trying to, stay out of jail and wanting to be president again, and even now talking in perpetuity, because of that law that they cannot come after you. And this man got 38 charges, which is much worse than the few charges that they placed on President Maduro of Venezuela. But to answer your question, how close they are, they're very close, because now they're having little war games in the region, and all it takes is a mishap. All it takes is a mishap, and the bombing starts. But like I said, Iran is a little different kind of situation, because even though there's dissatisfaction among the people because of legitimate pain based on the sanctions, I know Iran. These are the kind of people that they will rise up against you. It's, they kind of remind us of the FOI. Now, me and brother Dr. Wrigley, we may be going at it. But let some outsider come and try to, no, we FOI. I don't care how much I may disagree with my brother. It ain't none of your damn business. And we will turn and take a break from our fight with each other to fight you.
That's right.
That's the way the Iranian people are.
That's right.
So they're very close to answer your question, sister. But I don't think that neither of them really want to do this thing. But Israel is in there.
That's
and
right.
Israel is as much as they talking, okay, we got to try to come to some understanding around this nuclear issue or whatever the stuff that's on the table. Israel is always there to try to throw mischief in it, to try to keep them going at it, because really it's the United States that Israel needs to fight that battle.
That's right.
Wow.
So when you look at Iran, don't always look at Israel when you deal with any kind of friction in the Middle East.
That's right.
I couldn't really hear that. It may be okay on you all's end, not mine.
Yeah,
but thank you, Brother Brian. Okay, and any question from Dr. Ridgely and Sister Attorney Pamela, step right in. But I wanted to know what is there for each side, that if they really want to de-escalate this, what would it take?
It would take justice. It will take the United States drawing back off of these coercive measures called sanctions that don't hurt. It may hurt the economy of a nation, but you're going to hurt 94 million people to try to squeeze a nation into your wicked, errant foreign policy? No, it takes justice. Yes, sir.
Can I come in here?
Yes, sir.
Many times on the international playing field, you see countries fighting over territory. One country believes that territory belongs to them, and another country believes that territory belongs to them, and they go to war to fight over territories, and then you have a peace treaty where you make a division or a separation in terms of who owns what. What has Iran claiming that belongs to America? What is Iran claiming that America can claim that America has a right to, and therefore needs to go to war to fight Iran over this dispute? There is no dispute. There's nothing in terms of land in dispute. This is just aggression. And you do not, you cannot compromise with aggression.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you can talk about because it's not right, it's wrong. It's just aggression of power over you. I got the power to take it, like you talk about Greenland, and we'll take it until somebody else did something and scare them off of that. But again, it's not going to de-escalate until America stops, and America ain't going to stop until Israel tell America to stop, and there's no benefit for Israel to tell America to stop because it'll be American soldiers, dollars spent, burnt, killed.
Yeah. But you know, Dr. Wrigley, with that, we got to study, and I'm saying for our audience out there, we have to study what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said over the last few Savior's Days, particularly 2024. Because he reminded us of something. Now, you read out of The Fall of America last week, brother. And that chapter, I happen to use part of that chapter in my article that's coming out next week, by the way, right? But in that chapter, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about how America's coming out of the Near East, or what some may call the Middle East, or West Asia. He's coming out of Asia. The minister said that the United States will not be in the Middle East, and he said, I have to tell you, Israel will not be there either.
That's right.
So I'm saying, let us study what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been saying and guiding concerning these areas and the outcomes. See, some people may say, well, I don't see how that's possible, as powerful as the United States is. What do you mean they're going to come out of anywhere? Well, live long enough. Keep on watching. See, because he's telling us the news and the headlines before they happen. Remember, he's talking revelation. These people are walking into a history that he's already have been taught about from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and to our brothers and sisters in Iran that may be looking at this at some point, the great Mahdi that you all are waiting for.
That's right.
Who came to make a universal change. See? So it will behoove us to continue to monitor what is going on in the world. As Sister Charlene was talking about earlier, when she opened up the show early in the program, you know, the article we did some months ago on what you see going on over there is being planned over here. And so all the turmoil, all of the madness that you see going on, the confusion going on around the world, the bloodshed that's going on, that's permeating the earth. What do you see in Minnesota? What did we see in Washington, D.C.? And he's not stopping there. He's looking at using his armed forces, these ICE agents. Every country in the world, Sister Charlene, I'll stop here, but every country in the world, you go to Africa, they got their standing army, but the president always has his little secret army. That's the catch that takes care of certain kind of business when you kind of raise up the wrong way and they got to disappear you or something like that. Well, America it appears that Trump has that in ICE, who is not beholden to the laws of law enforcement agencies. They have their own rules or non-rule. Every country has it. So what you see going on in Africa and in other places where the president got his little secret police and secret apparatuses that take care of that kind of business. What do you think you're looking at with this climate that ICE agents is doing and these other people are doing it? And just look at the language and the posture. We've done it. The Final Court has done stories asking the question, is America close to anarchy? So, we look at Iran, we look at what's going on in occupied Palestine, we look at what's going on in other parts of the world. Well, it's coming to you, Brooklyn. It's coming to you, Atlanta. It's coming to you, Los Angeles.
It's here.
Hell, even here in little Columbia, South Carolina, it's coming to us. So this is why we got to pay attention, and why the Final Court will continue to lift what is going on around the world to the best of our ability, and keep the integrity of our our publisher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and the founder, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I don't know if you have any more questions, sister, but yeah.
Well, we always do. But what you did when you mentioned Minneapolis, and thank you for that, Brother Brian. Thank you all for staying with us. This is Liberated Sisters, Sister Charlene Muhammad, Brother Brian E. Muhammad, Final Call staff writer, Sister Attorney Pamela Muhammad, who brings us our justice report. She's a Houston-based litigator. We have Dr. Ridgely. I think it's Abdul Mumin. He's going to correct me, but I don't want to forget the Abdul. Who is with us, Nation of Islam Research Group, also manager at Muhammad Farms in Georgia. And coming with us soon will be, because she came and we were in a dialogue, but Sister Anisah Muhammad, Final Call staff writer, so that we can talk about her article. You mentioned it, Brother Brian. So let's segue right into that. And thank you, finalcall.com, everyone. Her story, as we prepare for her to come, is anger at federal government's immigration operations increases after another killing in Minneapolis. And so we see now that there are several killings there. One of the most heightened ones that is really turning the corner of things. I'm not comparing these shootings. It's almost like when we have officer involved shootings in the Black community, or we have fratricidal conflict. I've been on the lines and I see both sides, and some parents and others are crying, weeping, really, like, what about our children? So I'm not here to compare any of the shootings. What I'm saying is Mr. Preddy's was the one that I saw in my perception that heightened the calls for change in Minneapolis. That's all I'm saying. But what also happened with the young woman who was killed, who was shot point blank in the front of the vehicle, that was another one. And so Sister Anisah will be on to talk about how she approached this article and some of the voices within it. Brother Brian, since you mentioned Minneapolis, would you take some time to tell us your thoughts about how we see things kicking up there? Like, I was watching the news about it today, and even President Donald Trump has come out to talk about it. And according to what I saw on some of the headlines in the news, he said maybe it could have been a little, like a little softer, the tone happening there. But your thoughts on Sister Anisah's article and what's happening in Minneapolis. And Dr. Ridgely, I'm going to pull you in, and Sister Pamela right now as well. Thank you all.
Well, I think that it speaks to the time that we're in. The dissatisfaction right now, and I can tie it into something that we talked about a little bit last week with Dr. Ridley, when he was talking about the depopulation plan. White folks are on edge because whether all of them can articulate what's going on with themselves or not, they know that times is different now. And some of them see the manifest end of their world. And they believe, And I've had white supremacists that I've interviewed tell me that they believe that they are now the underdog. I'm talking about the Caucasian male in particular. So there's a certain, again, energy that's being produced within them. And this is the energy that I see these ICE agents and this what's happening in Minneapolis and other cities where they're concerned. See, I mean, and I see Sister is here, so we can get into her article. But I'll say this one last thing on it, that, it's kind of strange. And I've heard people ask this question: if you stole the land from our indigenous brothers and sisters, committed genocide on them, and now you trying to round everybody up to kick them out, to send them back to wherever you think they came from, how do you kick somebody out of stolen land? I mean, I can't go to court. Me and you mess up on a drug deal, and now I'm going to take you to court because you try to beat me out of my money. Now we in court talking about. But I'll let Sister, because she
I guess it amounts to power. Brother Brian, thank you for that. In my mind, I guess it amounts that you have the power to do so. But everyone, thank you, Brother Brian. Here is our sister. I brought everyone in so we could welcome you. Sister Anisah, you've been on Liberated Sisters before, but it's been a while. And I'm so glad to have you here. And sister, thank you for all of your work. Very beautiful work that you do for the Final Call and beyond, because she has other media projects. And so sister is a powerhouse. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Anisah.
Yes, ma'am. Walaikum salam. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Beautiful. Holding it down for national coverage. And Sister Anisah, I've said it before, but I want to say it now. When you branched into covering the crises that we see with the Palestinian genocide, and when you began to fill in for Brother Brian, I was like one of our student ministers here. She always does this, Sister Val. I was like, go, Sister Anisah, go. So everyone, let's welcome her. If you want to give a brief opening remark about her or to her, let's shower her with love. And then Sister Anisah, I want you to talk about your approach to this story in Minneapolis, and what is this anger that we see in the uptick, and how is it being handled? That's my lead-in question, but let the panel welcome you to the show, as Brother Brian, you did.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Slow down, sister.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Anisah. How are you, ma'am?
Walaikum salam. Yes, ma'am. I'm well by Allah's grace and mercy.
Praise be to Allah. Good to see you.
And even though she said I said my piece, I will give you the greetings. And I have to say this now. This is somebody who's born to do what she's doing. I'm not going to embarrass you, Sister Anisah, by telling you the story that your father always, when he told me when you was, I guess you may have been about 14 or 15, and she published a book, wrote a book, published it, and they didn't even know that it happened until the book came in. That's the way he told it to me. A book,
a whole book,
a full book,
a go-getter.
Exactly. So we welcome you, Anisah.
Talented,
one of the strongest writers that and I always enjoy reading her because her structure, as a writer, writer talk. Oh man, it's really inspiring.
Yeah. A beautiful storyteller. A lot of times we call them articles, but recently I was like, we're telling the story. You have a beautiful way of telling the story, sister. And no matter what it is, it could be like the most devastating news. It could be a feature about something really gleeful, but it's just the way that you make it so uniquely your own, and you really bring it to life. And so how did you approach Minneapolis, this piece?
Yes, ma'am. So this was actually the third article on the subject. So the very first one, because I think that's part of the overall context of just our coverage in general of, just everything happening in Minneapolis. So the first story really explored, I guess, the beginning wave of the issue in terms of just the immigration crackdown in Minneapolis. And really, that one looked at really how it's been impacting the Somali community in Minneapolis, because that was the original language used in terms of the immigration crackdown that's happening. The original language used by the presidential administration was that we are, were target. Well, I don't know if they said it explicitly, but it was implied that, you know, the target was immigrant Somalis in Minneapolis. We kind of saw the build up kind of in December with President Trump and other individuals in his administration, kind of just using derogatory language towards Somalis. And then there was a viral video that came out. And so, that's kind of where it started. And that's kind of where the first article kind of happened with, just looking at the Somali community and how they were being impacted. And then I was actually speaking to a Somali activist at the time, or I don't know if she actually a Muslim activist at the time. I don't know if she's Somali or not. So I was speaking to a Muslim activist at the time while I was writing this article. She didn't want to be on record for the interview for the article, but she did want to give additional context. Mm-hmm. And while I was on the phone with her, she's like, actually, they just shot a woman. It's like that had just the shooting of Renee Good had happened. Really, it was probably like 30 minutes ago when I was talking to the activist. And so, then that's when, so in the midst of writing the first article, that's when the explosion started to kind of happen. And we kind of saw, just the continued division and everything, the dissatisfaction that swept across the country. So that's when the second article came out, looking at just the further division of, the country overall, the further anger, the further dissatisfaction. And then, I was after the second article, I was still keeping an eye on the issue. Still kind of monitoring it too right now, just in case anything else happens. But Sister Starla was like, Sister Starla, for anyone that is watching, the interim editor of the final call, we were communicating. I was, still keeping an eye on this situation in terms of, just what was happening. And so I had, in my personal notes, I had a thing called tracking ice. And so I would just note everything that was occurring as I was, keeping an eye. This is happening, and now this is happening. And, because it was, just a steadily unfolding event. And so finally, I told Sister Starla, I was like, I think it's time for a third article, this and that.
Yeah.
Happening. And this was actually before the second shooting of Alex Preddy. So this was, it was like a few days before his death. And I was like, we need to go ahead and write another article on it. And then that weekend is when he was shot and killed. And so, that's kind of how the third story unfolded. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone with a question for her? And I know people were trying to see it. I'm so sorry you couldn't see it on the screen. But finalcall.com. Anyone, Dr. Ridgely, Brother Brian, Sister Pamela, with a question for her before I ask another one?
I was in terms of I didn't get a chance to read the whole article, but what is the atmosphere in terms of the Somalian community there? Because I know that this was one thing, but then they had this other accusation that the Trump administration brought against them in that city, and now there's I understand if it hasn't happened already, they're supposed to have the attorney general um, from the state come before Congress, and there's now hearings now to question the local administration there. What if there was any updates? I don't know if anything came out as you was doing your reporting on that, but what is the atmosphere now for the Somalia community?
Right, yes. So from my understanding, I think in general, people are still afraid to even like leave their houses for things like, groceries and taking their children to school. I know some of the schools have offered like online classes because, a lot of people, especially the immigrants, so, Somalis, even, our Mexican and Latino brothers and sisters, a lot of people are just, kind of just afraid to even go out in public in
Mm,
any sort of way because of the fear of ICE agents and the fear of, deportation, even though the majority of Somalis in Minneapolis are legal citizens.
mm,
So that was another thing that, especially that first article got to
mm,
about just, a lot of them are legal citizens, legal residents, and so, but they still kind of just have this fear because ICE agents have been locking up legal U.S. citizens, and kind of just snatching people off the street and that sort of thing.
mm,
And so we kind of get to some of that in this third article as well, in terms of just the impact on people's lives.
mm.
Really, I spoke to a lot of the Black activists for
Okay.
this article, and but they still kind of reiterated that people are, afraid to leave their houses, and there's been kind of a mutual benefit type of thing happening where
Mm,
people are, kind of donating groceries and that sort of thing to those individuals that, might be afraid to, leave the houses and resident. And
mm.
I don't know if that, fully answered.
Yeah, it did. And the other part to that, you mentioned the, I guess the Black American community
Mhm.
there, the activists that are there. Um, the last time that we saw the level of energy like this in the streets,
Mm.
and I mean, and this isn't Minneapolis's first rodeo.
Yeah.
With that. Of course, you had George Floyd, and then before that, there was, a couple of other things. Um,
Mm.
did anybody
Wow.
speak to you about this sheer energy? Because I mean, looking at it from a distance, you have 20 below zero, and they're out there like it's, you know. So I don't know if that
Like it's
type of
what? Hot?
yeah,
Like it's
exactly,
what?
like it's hot. Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Beach weather. Okay.
Beach weather, exactly.
I understand. Thank you, Brother Brian.
Yes. And just before I answer that question, I'll also go to, because you brought up just kind of George Floyd, and
Yeah.
there's really been a list of of high profile police brutality cases in Minneapolis. So, there was Philando Castile, of course, George Floyd. We did an article on Dolau Id, who was Somali. Dante Wright, we've done articles on him. We've done articles on Amir Locke. So, there's a litany of just state murder and, law enforcement officers killing of, and those were all Black, of course, with the ICE agents. The two that were killed, Renee Good and Alex Pretty, have both been white so far, but there's just a litany of killings by law enforcement in Minneapolis overall that has, gone high profile. And as to your question, I think on was it kind of like as people just out in the weather, freezing cold with winter storms back to
I mean,
back happening?
the anger, it seems to that level
Yeah.
that you know, there
Wow.
there was no stopping the people from rising, you know. So I don't know, you know, if people, if anyone spoke to that, again, that energy as you was doing your reporting, because to me it speaks to, again, the level of dissatisfaction, the degree of dissatisfaction that now exists within the borders of the United States against this government, you know.
I want to
It's,
add something to what you're saying, Brother
Mhm.
Brian, because I understand it now when I was saying like it's hot. But if I understand correctly what you're remarking about is that this was extreme. This is happening in ultra extreme snow. This isn't just
Mhm.
like a cold winter that is normal for the Northeast. This is like happening in or the Midwest, very extreme snow where people are hunkering down
Mhm.
and like can't even get out. Like I talked to some recently who said they paid someone to help them get one of their cars out. They really couldn't get out of certain
Mhm.
areas because of the snow, but people are out protesting or raising their voices. Do I have that correct, Brother Brian?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. You know,
So, Sister Anisah, that was his question to that effect.
yeah.
Yeah, and no one really spoke to that exact point, but I think just, and as we, I think just, when the pain reaches a certain level at,
Mm.
just at what's happening to your community, I think that's what draws people to, we have to act, we have to do something regardless. I think, because, well, in my head, I was describing it as kind of like a boiling point. And that was after, the shooting of Renee Good. But I think it really reached, I don't know if it's a second boiling point that can be reached, but if it is, I
You
don't
can
think
always go higher.
that works. But
Yes, boiling
I
points,
think,
ma'am.
yes, ma'am. And we've seen
No, go
it
ahead.
just, yes, ma'am. But I think we've seen it too with, even our people when, something happens and, just that boiling point is reached to the point where, there's
Mm.
nothing else to do but to, be
Yeah.
out on the streets regardless of the circumstances.
Mm.
But like I said,
Mm.
nobody really, I don't think they really spoke to it
Mm,
per se, but
Mm.
yes, sir.
mm.
Uh,
Anyone
I just
online, if you have any
in
questions
listening,
for her,
yes,
post them, but go ahead, Dr. Ridgely.
in listening to this conversation, I remembered an article that Brother Jerome did in last week's final call, and in that article, he was pointing out how the United Arab Emirates
Mm.
are backing a secession plan of dividing up Somalia. The separatist state called Somaliland, the United Arab Emirates, and Israel are trying to accept them as a separate country
Mhm.
from Somalia. So you have on one hand, you have America focusing on the Somalians in America, and in particular Minneapolis, so that so where do we send these people? Let's send them back to Somalia. Well, then are they wanted in Somalia because there's strife between Somaliland and Somalia? So things are being manufactured to come with solutions to problems that fit into those people who are making the problems. So why not divide off Somaliland from Somalia, send these Somalians from America into Somaliland, and then send the Palestinians from Israel into Somaliland, because the Egyptians don't want them. The other Arab countries don't want them because they don't want them to leave Israel. So they don't want to open up an escape that they have to take, the Palestinians have to take, because, okay, yes, you can come here. The Palestinians don't want to leave, and the Arabs, other countries know that they don't want to leave. So they don't want to give Israel an excuse to send them there. So now Israel is sending another place to send them. And if you look at the map of where Somaliland is, it's right there at that joint in Arabia and Africa. On one side, you have Yemen, who's an enemy to Israel. Now they want to put something down there so Israel could have a stake in putting up military bases there to protect that strait. In the meantime, you got the Somalians fighting the Somalians, and now you see on the Palestinians down there. And so you have a cauldron of stuff by which Israel can do mischief, producing false flags, causing them to fight and kill one another, give them the excuse to bring in more military to stabilize it, so they can in fact stabilize the Strait of Hormuz that now Yemen is basically controlling. So again, this is why Minister Farrakhan was downloaded in 1985 when he was on the wheel. He was downloaded a set of instructions of how to handle all of these presidents and their games. This is why it's so important that we have him at this time, because looking at it from the outside, it makes no sense. But coming from the perspective of God, Allah, and his war against Satan, who's also a man, we can begin to see the chess moves. So I'm saying, underneath all of this, there's a whole other thing going on, and we thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who can tell us what the heck is going on. And we're going to hear his words through our brother, Minister Ishmael Muhammad, this Savior's Day. What is on the mind of Allah coming through Minister Farrakhan that he sends through Minister Ishmael, so we will get a picture of what the world is coming to and how we must prepare ourselves for this war of Armageddon.
Yes, I agree.
Sister Anisah. Yes, ma'am. So I have a comment and I have a question. Can y'all hear me? I'm not sure.
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you fine.
Yeah, so I have to say, first off, of course, I love your articles. And one article that always has stuck with me was one that you wrote about crack cocaine, something like out of the fire into the frying pan or something. But, you know, I think my question would be, and I want to couch it from a legal perspective, because immigration laws in this country have been very much totally different than what we've seen. It's been a sudden, abrupt, just a turning upside down, where we're seeing people deported, we're seeing people picked up. So I guess part of my question to you is, what are the numbers looking like of the people that are being actually taken off the streets and then sent to these detention centers in these unknown places? I do see in this article, you mentioned something about the children being malnourished in detention facilities. So do you know?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know if I did specific research on that aspect. I know we included a few, like says, numbers and stats in terms of just the fact that the arrests have been going up at such a high rate.
Yes,
there was one study we quoted from researchers at the University of California, Berkeley. And I'll just read it. It says, for both types of arrests, ICE was much less likely to target people with criminal convictions. These changes led to over a 7-fold increase in arrests of people without criminal convictions. And then they added in the story that the arrests basically quadrupled, which, like you said, resulted in a larger rise in deportations. But as far as the exact stats and numbers of, just those being deported, I'm not sure. I just know that there is a higher rate. And this was, I believe, this was looking at 2025. So this isn't even what's been happening, just these past few weeks. But, I'm sure that, when the data comes out about, these past few weeks, we'll see kind of just that overall rise in just the amount of people being arrested, the amount of people being deported. And this was only people, this study, it, like I quoted, only looked at people without criminal convictions. These are, innocent people basically, that's
Right.
being arrested, being deported and whatnot. So yes, man, I will try to look into that and, do some further
Yes,
research,
ma'am.
inshallah.
No, beautiful. The article is beautiful, but like you say, the increase of people who are really literally somewhat disappearing, they're being snatched off these streets. If you call it an arrest, I don't know, but where they're being sent to, like, I understand people are being sent to Laredo, but there's no constitutional rights here. And I just want to say the comment that I had was that, so here in Texas, of course, we have lots of people from, Mexico, the Caribbeans, just a lot. And to see them prior to ICE and this new administrative, like, totally turning immigration upside down, because people were coming into this country and they were building families. And it really is like that mayor said. He said these people, he said they're moms and dads to civil engineers, to students, to correction officers. They're deporting our neighbors, family members. So these have been people in our community for years, law-abiding, hardworking. And, for me, because I'm a child of the Midwest and I'm also a child of the crack cocaine era. And I heard Dr. Ridgely talk about how the minister has actually guided us and, prophesized some of what this depopulation agenda looked like. I used to see I'll say the Mexicans and just how hard they were working. I remember seeing them sometimes working on roofs in the rain. And, family oriented people who were really trying to just make a better life for their families, having the barbecues and this and that, like we used to do in the 70s. And I used to say, wow, do they really know who this enemy is? Because we in our Black community in the 70s, this is how we used to work hard. And so to see this type of attack, it's amazing. And I think, we have to, I think when we talk about what motivates some of that anger, their lives have just been virtually turned upside down in overnight in a very unjust and unconstitutional way. So I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you. Thank you,
The way you
Sister
get-
Attorney Pamela.
The way you get somebody,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
the
Praise
way
be
you
to
get, the way you get somebody to swing at you is to swing at them first. And most of the time in the fights, you don't see the first swing. You see the retaliation. And that's how they do it. They're striking these people so that they'll have a reason to strike back. And then they'll call a false flag with somebody who does pay to do this to get stuff started so they can take it to the next level. This is why we're taught in the Nation of Islam, we don't even carry a penknife. Okay? Don't give them an excuse to kill you. Okay? If they try to kill you, fight like hell. But don't give them an excuse, because then they can hide and say you threatened them. Hey, how's a bow tie threaten you? Come on, mister. Okay? So, again, they're playing a game. They let these people in. They thought the Mexicans would go fight with the blacks over these jobs. Mr. Farrakhan jumped ahead of that and brought the Latino community in with the Black Muslim community. So that wiped out that division. So now they got to push up on them and throw them back because they didn't do their job. Their job was to come in and start mischief between blacks and Mexicans and Hispanics. But Mr. Farrakhan brought in what's the brother's name?
Abel, Brother Abel,
who
Brother
speaks
Abel.
that language and has bridged that gap. So now they got to go and find another enemy, another problem, because it's all about the elimination of the black and the brown.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Thank
And
you,
then,
Dr. Rich. Go ahead,
yes,
sister.
yeah, I just also add too, like the impact has really been all around. Like I think in the one of the articles we talked about some of the native community that's been arrested, which is, how do you arrest natives of the land? Who knows? But in immigration, but so some native people have been arrested. There was a 6-month-old black baby who we talked about in this new article, who basically ice tear gassed a black family's car, and 2 of the children had to go to the hospital, including a 6-month-old. And the baby was basically having breathing issues because of the tear gas. And so it's really just an all around impact and harm. It's not really even just the impact isn't just on our Mexican Latino brothers and sisters. It's not just on our Somali family. Is really just all around in terms of who's being impacted, even though not everyone all around may not be feeling the most of it or may not be facing the threat of arrest and deportation. But we are also seeing that impact just all around for the whole of the original family. And then also
Yeah.
to Yes, man. Also to Dr. Ridgely's comment on this really kind of being a preset for, other actions. Looking for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's comment. Okay, I found where so the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we quoted in the second article on everything, but he says, and this was in a 1994 article, Is America Headed for Civil War? And he talks about, just a point in time when we'll see that civil unrest, and it won't be able to be handled by police. And then he says the police will be supported by the National Guard, and the National Guard will be supported by federal troops. When this day arrives, and it will, the breakdown of law and order will be so great in America that it will be, as the prophets foretold, a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And then he continues, blood, as John the Revelator saw, will be running in the streets even up to the horse's bridle. This is a terrible prophecy, and it does not appear that it will be avoided or averted. So just to bring Minister Farrakhan's words into the equation, but that was all that I had to add in terms of his comment.
Very good. That's right. Thank you, Sister Anisah. It is a great way to close. We will forego extra closing marks, everyone. That's our time for tonight. I'm going to endeavor to show some announcements before we go, but thank you all for being with us, and happy Savior's Day. And Sister Anisah, thank you for being patient as we brought you in. And thanks for your writing, and Brother Brian, and you too, Dr. Risley, and Sister Attorney Pamela, all of you, and everyone for tuning in to the broadcast tonight. Thank you for those who helped me behind the scenes with the images and the spreading word. I really am grateful. Thank you from Liberated Sisters, Sister Charlene Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. So I will look at Sister Anisah. Like a Sister Anisah. Oh my gosh. Muhammad just continues to produce greatness out of our ranks. And so thank you all for your remarks. You can go into the YouTube or the Facebook thread and see the remarks there. I just we have about one more minute or two, and I would be remiss if I didn't share this screen. This is Brother Sultan Muhammad, who has his book. We talked about some of what is in this book. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his Royal Friendship Tours. And so I don't know if it's being seen. Here it is. Yeah, there it is. Farrakhan Global. So you can go to the website, which is FarrakhanGlobalTravels.com. That's Brother Sultan Muhammad. One of his very personal assistants has a book about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's global travels. And then we also have Sister Sajda Wendy Muhammad, who has a new series, The Messenger's Residence. And this is a new series coming soon. I would like to play this.
Emerging in the wake of racial and social unrest in a period of Black denigration, the Nation of Islam has a long and storied tradition of personal and collective transformation in the lives of its believers. Still, the Nation of Islam and its leader, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, remain broadly misunderstood, understudied, and often misrepresented. Founded in Detroit in 1930 by Master W. Fard Muhammad during the early phases of the Great Migration, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad remains the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam, now led by his national representative, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. There, in the historic Chicago neighborhood of Kenwood, home to the University of Chicago and various Frank Lloyd Wright architectural edifices, boast an array of significant homes and venues important to the study of Black religions. Among these, on the corner of 48th and Woodlawn, is the former National House of the Nation of Islam and the former home of the Nation of Islam's leader, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, now known as the Elijah Muhammad House Museum. The early 20th century home is one of several properties that were owned and operated and built by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in addition to multiple North African-inspired homes that flank the primary residence. The North African-inspired homes, one of which is now the residence of Nation of Islam's leader, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, were commissioned by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to an Egyptian architect. The Egyptian-themed residences, in conjunction with the former National House, collectively narrate a story about the Nation of Islam and its leaders' desire to establish a new religion and way of life for Black people.
He built a nearly $100 million empire with plans to purchase the entire south side of Chicago. He built a nation within a nation. This series will explore the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's impact on religion, health, education, politics, self-improvement, and the significance of women to the Nation of Islam's history.
Everyone, that is taking place February 7th. This Saturday, you can go to sajdahouse.com for more information on the first presentation on this Saturday, February 7th. sajdahouse.com. I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad again. Thank you all for being with us. Assalamu alaikum.
That's the only way we're gonna be free. Everybody singing this sweet refrain. Sing this melody till it gets in your brain. When